You know, life sometimes is stranger than fiction, and sometimes things can hit me as being so, as the kids would say, hilarious. Everything's hilarious. You know, that's hilarious. But so funny, so perfectly written, so mathematically exquisite, the way it's laid out. The following story was reported. You may have heard about it. I've done a lot of commentary about this internationally. And the headline is, CNN's Reza Aslan faces backlash after eating part of a human brain while filming with Hindu cannibal sect. Now, my friends, it doesn't get any better than that. CNN. Excellent. Excellent. CNN's Reza Aslan has been facing some heavy criticism after he ate part of a human brain while filming a segment on a Hindu sect in India. Just when CNN finally is watchable, just when they're not involved in alt-left, anti-Trump, nonsense, fake news, now that they have something that's kind of interesting, hey, it's a guy eating a brain, he catches grief for it. There's no justice. The episode, part of a series called Believer with Reza Aslan, provoked disgust from many viewers and prompted backlash from many American Hindus after it was aired Sunday. Representative Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii, fine, how are you? The only Hindu in Congress and one of the more high-profile critics of the episode, blasted CNN for using, quote, sensationalist ways to promote Hinduism. Now, I don't know if they were promoting Hinduism or if they just said, here's a story about a guy eating brains. I don't know. Call me wacky. I'm going for the latter. Tulsi Gabbard, who, by the way, I respect tremendously by virtue of what she has said and done regarding Syria and that particular story. But Tulsi Gabbard said, while good people across our country are working hard to increase mutual understanding and respect between people of different religions, I am very disturbed that CNN is using its power and influence to increase people's misunderstanding and fear of Hinduism. I don't think Tulsi, without living on Tulsi time. Sorry, I don't believe that this in any way is contributing or increasing to the misunderstanding regarding Hinduism. Believe me, I think most people aren't even making any concession because they're thinking this is probably a rather, shall we say, rare, outboard sect of the otherwise proud and noble tradition of Hinduism. She writes, Aslan and CNN didn't just throw a harsh light on a sect of wandering ascetics to create shocking visuals, as if touring a zoo, but repeated false stereotypes about caste, karma, and reincarnation that Hindus have been combating tirelessly. Okay, well taken. Aslan, 44. I like to throw in the age, 44. What does that mean? What, he should know better? Who cares? What do you think? He has a waist, 34 waist. But Aslan met with the Agori sect when he was invited to eat cooked brain tissue during a ritual in which they also spread ashes from cremated human bodies on his face. Oh, this is great. When I was reading this particular story, I couldn't help but think back to what would it sound like if Walter Cronkite, the greatest man, the most trusted man in American journalism, Walter Cronkite, what if he read this copy and had to read it cold one night? And he drank an alcoholic drink out of a human skull before he ate the brain. The Agori guru got mad at Aslan at one point when he shouted, quote, I will cut your head off if you keep talking so much. The guru started eating his own feces before throwing it at Aslan, to which Aslan responded, quote, I feel like this may have been a mistake. Now let me stop right there, because I want to know more about this. By the way, eating one's feces or eating feces is coprophagia, not to be encouraged. Kids, The expression shit-eating grin is just an expression. Okay, don't try this at home. I know you like all these wild, wacky, you and your wet and your K2 and your synthetic this. I know you crazy kids out there with your drugs. But don't try this, please. Not a good idea. But a couple of things. The Agori guru got mad. He said he started eating his own feces. Now, the question I have is, did he have some feces handy? Or did he freshly produce some egesta, a sample, kind of a stool pigeon in many respects? Did he have it handy, maybe in a bowl or something, and then he started to eat, and then the heck with you, heaved it at him? Or did he commence the elimination process, begin consumption, or dare I say perhaps transumption, and then later on? I don't know. I want to know this, because it's the sequencing of the story which has me most upset. Now, later on, the Agori are devotees of the Hindu god Shiva and believe that the human body cannot be tainted, but Orthodox Hindus reject their beliefs and practices. Indian Americans have criticized CNN for highlighting the practices of a cult of less than 100 members, saying that it does not represent mainstream Hinduism. Quote, with multiple reports of hate-fueled attacks against people of Indian origin from across the U.S., the show characterizes Hinduism as cannibalistic, which is a bizarre way of looking at the third largest religion in the world. This is according to the U.S. India Political Action Committee, or USIN-PAC, they said in a statement in the Hindustan Times. Indian American industrialist and Trump advisor Shalabh Kumar also denounced CNN for its broadcast. Quote, CNN, Clinton News Network, has no respect for Hindus. All Hindus worldwide should boycott CNN. Aslan seems to have no signs of apologizing for the segment, clarified in a post on his Facebook page that Agori are an extreme Hindu sect, that it is not representative of Hinduism. Now, folks, let's break this down, okay? First, bravo, CNN. Bravo. You finally gave me something to watch. A guy eating brains and basically having a weird holy man heave mounds of shite at you. That is worth the price of admission. I will watch that. I will. Sanjay Gupta, move over. And Chris Cuomo and Don Lemon. Try that, Don Lemon. Squat down, produce a pile of your own human waste, and heave it repeatedly after consuming it. Now, a couple of things here, which I think are most important and most critical. Stand by. Stand by. Stand by. I want to show you this. Stand by. Hang on. Hang on. I made some notes here, which I want to bring to your attention, because I was commenting on this, and I made some notes, and I wanted to bring this to your attention because this subject fascinates me to no end. The term transumption was used, and I don't know if that really applies versus consumption, transumption. I don't know, but it sounds good. It's a great word. I read a lot today, did a lot of research on this. I referred to the notion of zombies, brains. Zombies, a whole zombie thing about eating brains and the like. And a great word I came across, shambolic. Shambolic. Remember 3 Dog Night, Shambhala? Shambolic, British mostly, kind of a disjointed, that crazy, that crazed, that whole big zombie thing. There is a substance that is called a prion, P-R-I-O-N, and a prion is a protein. And what's interesting about the protein, it has no DNA, no nucleic acid. It's just a protein. It is so durable. I got to in a moment. It is so durable that in order to kill it, it has to be heated at 900 degrees. 900 degrees for 4 hours. This is one of the hardiest macromolecules I have ever heard of. The prion. Sounds like a Toyota, like a hybrid. the Toyota, the 2017 Prion. Now, prions are these proteins which are believed to be a part of bovine spongiform encephalopathy, mad cow disease, or human spongiform encephalopathy, or Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Not a good idea to be eating brains, because if you were to consume one of these, let's say an infected brain with has a prion in it, or small intestines, spinal cord, stuff that's prion heavy and hearty, and it were to get in you, it goes into your brain and then converts everything and makes your brain basically that mad cow disease. That it'll look like like Mike Webster, like you've been, a boxer for your whole life. They noticed this in Papua New Guinea in a group, and they called this disease the Kuru, Kuru, which is a shoe company as well, but it means shaking death, because wives, interestingly enough, would consume the remains of their dead husband, and that's when they noticed this. It also has up to a 50-year dormancy period. This is some pretty serious stuff. And it is so interesting. By the way, very interesting stuff. You're going to love this one. Grass plants can transport infectious prions. In fact, there was an article in Science Daily, which I will post if you like. You might want to lay off wheatgrass strings unless it's grown in a greenhouse, a greasehouse as I call it, a greenhouse. So the prion is so much a part of this story. So that's the medical part of it. But let's also look at the practical part of it, shall we? I think that this man deserves some kind of acclaim. I think Mr. Reza Aslan deserves some kind of international Emmy for indefatigable, journalistic reportage, consuming human brains, drinking blood, having ashes spread from cremated human bodies on his face, drinking an alcoholic drink, I should say, out of the skull. I want to party with Reza. Let's. Can you imagine if Reza's ever someplace and he says, I don't particularly care for. Reza, do you want the pork? No. What is that? What is that? Is that, is it haggis? Oh, I can't eat that. You ate a brain. Yes, I know, but. So he can never turn any food down. By the way, bovine spongiform encephalopathy, mad cow disease. Remember in the 80s or 90s? Turns out that in the UK, they would grind up. Remember, cows eat grass and are herbivores or herbivores, depending upon where you're from. And they ground up bone, an actual cow remnants, and put it into their feed and gave it to these cows as part of it. And that's how they took the prions in. These prions, by the way, are so hardy that a friend of mine, a medical school professor, said that they've had these little prions, these proteins, under a cover slip of a lens of a slide for microscopy, and then later on they peeled this cover slip back and they've revivified or done something to reanimate whatever this thing is, and it's good to go. This is one hardy, resilient mofo. But let's go back to what this was. To all you journalists out there. Oh, this morning I was watching. Oh, it was so bad. It snowed. It's going to snow on a Tuesday. You should have seen the local, the morning news. I'm driving in my car. That's right, Dave. I'm driving on the New York State Thruway. I'm in Rockland County, and snow's coming down. I can see the road. It's not. So there's all morning of this stuff. You think that's good? Try pulling a Reza Aslan and go munching on some brains, all right, some human brain. Then talk to me about your big, tough job driving around in the van, doing some look live in the middle of the night at some place. Now, that's an intrepid reporter. I don't want to hear your nonsense anymore. But I can't do that. Ooh, I don't like this job. This guy, okay, there's some kind of a reward or award or some citation that's him. And I also wonder, too, when somebody picked up the phone, did they ever call back and say, hey, look, yeah, hey, Reza, yeah, hang on, bud. Listen, I'm going to call back. I'm going to call the news director and find out about you. Hang on a minute. Yeah, hello, Jerry. Yeah, listen, yeah, Reza and I here. We're talking to this guy. Yeah, the Swami. Well, not a Swami. He's he's whatever he is. I don't know what he is. What are you, sir, again? A Gori? Yeah, it's 100 people in the sect. Guy's a lunatic, but he's a wild man. Anyway, listen, I got a thing for you. He wants to give us. Write this down. Sure, I'll wait. Talking to Jerry. Yeah, he wants us to. Let me get this straight. He wants us to drink an alcoholic drink from a skull. You got that? Yeah. And then he wants us to eat human brains. And hurry up, because the guy's got a little pee out here. He dropped a deuce in his hand and he's flinging it at Reza there. So he's a little. He's eating it. Oh my God. Oh yeah. In a minute, sir. Jerry, okay, we got your okay? Okay, yeah. Right, does it look live? Sure. Okay. We'll feed it in 15. Okay. All right, good. All right, good. Terrific. That's what I want to hear. How did they discuss this? How did they review this? How did Reza say, it's a good idea. I'm going to basically do something which violates every conceivable most people in most countries. And I'm going to do this, and I'm going to, oddly enough, I'm going to be, I'm looking something up and talking to you, but I'm going to go down in history because basically, CNN is so bad. They're eating our brains up anyway. They're eating our minds up and our imagination and our soul with this horrible news. And now they're eating brains, literally. Remember the story? I remember reading this as a kid. Remember the story of the Andes plane crash? And how they would eat. Remember there was that soccer team and the 1972 Andes plane crash. They were cannibals, and they had to eat the bodies of their teammates, and then they were haunted by the notion of cannibalism. And I remember being as a kid, my mother told me this. I don't even know if it's true, but she told me these great stories. My mother was a great storyteller, and she would say, and they found out that these people never got sick after they consumed human flesh. Never. I thought, wow. Cannibalism's always been like, wow. Remember Albert Fish? The horrible girl who killed, what's her name, Nancy, upstate New York? Cannibalized her, ate her, told his kids when he would feed his children hamburger raw. And they said, Daddy, we don't like this. He says, if I can eat it, you can too. Albert Fish, who cannibalized this poor young girl and then wrote her parents as he was on death row and described in detail how he consumed her. And then they talk about what are the parts of the human anatomy that are tasty, the buttocks, things that are fleshy, legs, thighs, sinew. No. And I've always been, there's this weird idea, this strange thing about cannibalizing. It is so universally, almost hardwired in the human experience, in the human psyche, in the human mindset, not to do it. And yet, Reza thought he would do it, saw nothing wrong with it, said, look, I'm not going to, photographing it, recording it, videotaping it, enough. Might have been enough of a problem. But no, he did it himself. And you thought remember when Geraldo did those phony baloney things when he would, not the Capone vault, but we would scale the fence and all that. This guy, see, we in our twisted sense of rational thought, we are chiding him, giving him a hard time. So the moral of the story is, bravo, CNN. Thank you. You eat our brains through your programming. You consume our soul by your incessant stream of lies. And then you have a story about some funky some funky new, holy man, pinching a loaf, dropping a log, and heaving at him while consuming his own egesta, autocoprophagia. I mean, so I, for one, say, join me in thanking Reza, thanking him for giving us something that we will never forget. Let me tell you, whenever there is a story about heaving excrement, is this a great, tell me this isn't the best. There was a fellow I will remember as long as I live, and I just thought about it now. And it was one of the funniest stories ever. It was a man whose name was Gerard Finneran. Gerard Finneran, a man who in 1995 took an ordinary flight. The story was he was kind of a big shot. He was on a flight. He became extremely intoxicated. Became so intoxicated in the first class, he drank repeatedly. I want to read this very, very quickly. He was a subject of folklore. This is a guy who, and I want to read this because you're not going to believe this one. I want to read it. Hang on a minute. I should have done it. I'm sorry. I should have done this before, but I did not do this. Okay. He apparently was so intoxicated during this particular flight that he climbed atop in first class here we go. This is from Boing. Worst ever air rage passenger jailed for drunken rampage. Just think about this. On the Emirates flight, wait a minute, no. This is not it. This is not the one. Oh. The worst ever air rage goes to Gerard B. Finneran in 1995. Finneran, the 58-year-old head of an investment banking firm, was seated in the first-class cabin on the United Airlines flight from Buenos Aires to New York. Taking advantage of the free liquor being served in that section of the plane, Finneran proceeded to get very, very drunk. When a concerned flight attendant refused to give him another glass of wine, Finneran took charge of the situation and began serving himself drinks from the beverage cart. When informed that it was against regulations for passengers to get their own drinks, an infuriated Finneran told the flight attendant that he was going to bust his ass. When the threat failed to achieve Finneran's desired result, he resorted to Plan B, going berserk, terrifying passengers, knocking over crew members, and then grabbing drinks and pouring them over his body. He topped off the show with an educational demonstration of primate dominance by clambering onto the beverage cart that had been placed off limits to him and evacuating his bowels on it, using the first-class linen napkins and his fingers to wipe his hindquarters. According to the criminal complaint filed against him, this captain of industry then proceeded to clean his fingers by walking up and down the aisles, tracking feces through the aircraft. How did I miss this? Okay, here we go. In court, Finneran pleaded guilty as charged, but his legal team claimed that the entire incident was a misunderstanding. Their client, they explained, had contracted a severe case of traveler's diarrhea, but couldn't use the first-class lavatories because they had been barricaded by assistants to the president of Portugal, who was also on the flight. In his situation, they argued, what choice did Finneran have but to defecate on the beverage cart? That's a novel defense. I must have you. Judge didn't buy it, gave him 300 hours of community service, and pre-sentenced him with a cleaning bill of $50,000. And he also, by the way, had to always announce, if ever he bought a ticket, if ever he had to travel, he had to tell people specifically who he was, but in a unique way, not just mention his name. And I'm sure everybody in the industry already know who he was. It's kind of like the D.B. Cooper, so to speak, legendary status of this. But imagine this. Yes, I'd like to Yes. Like to secure a ticket, please. Yes. Yes. Right. First, leaving. Great. First class. Yeah. Terrific. Yeah. My name. Yes. Finneran. Yes. Finneran. Yes. Gerard. Yes. Gerard. Yes. Yes. That one. Yes. Yes. Hello. You know he never was allowed to travel again. So, my friends, in conclusion, I just wanted to take this opportunity just to tell you that every now and then a story comes along like this, and like these people, like Finneran and like this, Reza Aslan and others, holy men squatting and flinging their own excrement and consuming it, eating and consuming human brains. Stories like this come and they just invade my mind. They marinate in my head over and over, and I think about them. And I want to share it with you. And I want you always to tell your friends about this. I want you to tell them that you heard this from me. And remind them and say, did you hear this story about this? You know what a pry on is. Look how much I have told you. Look how much we learned. Look how this story involves not only this, but medicine, CNN, and fake news, alt left. The Kuru shaking dance. I mean, it's great to get away from Vault 7. It's great to get away from Umbridge. It's great to get away from, WikiLeaks. And just think about this. Because every now and then in some story, there's something so perfect, so wonderfully great that it must be shared. I want to thank you for allowing me to share this with you. And I want to thank you, not for what you are, but for what you appear to be. And I mean that sincerely. Don't forget to like this particular video. Don't forget to pass it on to your friends. And don't forget always to subscribe to the channel. And now you may comment as you see fit.